Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to Life on the Wrist. Hope you guys are doing well. Today we're going to be looking at another book. We're looking at Watches, a Guide by Hodinkee. This is Hodinkee's first book that they ever published, and the idea of this book was they wanted to publish something that was easy to read and would allow you to get a brief overview of the history of watches and then different complications in watches that sort of embody those complications. I really like this book. I think it's it was somewhat controversial because Hodinkee was going from a website to print journalism, which was kind of a strange way of doing it, but it was really well executed. They have incredible images and great descriptions on all of the complications and histories of these incredible things that we call watches. I'll give you a brief overview of the book and allow you to see some of the inside of it, so you can sort of get a flavor for it. It really is a great example, and I really love the images that they've included on here. So without further ado, let me flip perspectives so you can take a look at this book. All right, so super excited to jump into Watches, a Guide by Hodinkee. I apologize for that. This is a really, honestly, it's a very important book when it comes to I hate to put it this way, but the democratization of watches, but also the history of a Hodinkee. Obviously Hodinkee is a company, whether you like them or not, that is extremely influential in watch literature, in the reporting on watches, and so this was actually a book that was published by Hodinkee. This was the first book that they ever produced. This was released in 2019 and was the first sort of hardcover book that they released. I'm reading straight off of the Hodinkee website on sort of their take on this book, but they basically said, we've partnered with one of the world's leading publishers, Acelen, you can see down here, to write our very first book, Watches, a Guide by Hodinkee. For the first time for our first attempt into the hardcover world, we wanted to write something that would be appealing to our great aunt Susan, who knows nothing about watches, as it is to your horological nerd brother Carl, who wouldn't stop talking about the benefits of a flying tourbillon. We get it, Carl. We cover everything from the history of watches to dive watches, travel time watches, military watches, ladies' watches, dress watches, chronographs, and iconic watches. Each chapter was written by one of our editors, so you get a fresh perspective on each topic. The 261-page glossy book is a perfect Sunday read, and after you've gone through cover to cover, it will look just as good on your coffee table for guests to flip through. This book is best suited for anyone from the horological novice to the horological nut who wants to know everything about watches and their relevance in today's world. So I think what they were trying to do is capture as much information that they possibly could in this book and make it easy to read, so that if you are super into watches or maybe not as not as well versed, you can still get something enjoyable about this watch. This book is really nicely put together. It's a great, it's a pretty big size. You can see if I just put my hand on top of it. It's a fairly large book, which is nice. As they mentioned, it was kind of a nice coffee table book. You can see on the side it looks really nice there. On the back you can see a couple of quotes. Some of my favorites. This one right here is actually on our website because I love it so much. There's something that you demand not only of your watches but also of yourself. Never stand still. This is one of my favorite quotes ever. Yeah, really nicely put together book. The text here is actually sort of etched into the cover, which I think is quite cool. As we open up the book, we can kind of flip through just quickly so you can see the quality. As with many things with Hodinkee, really high quality images. So you can see here, this is a Rolex crown, but we also have the table of contents here, and I'll zoom in so you can sort of read through this, but you can see you basically have a foreword, an introduction, a brief history of timepieces. Brief being the fact that there's so much to know about the history of watches. Then they go through some complications: chronograph, dive watch, travel time, military, high complications, women watches, dress watches, icons, and then there's an acknowledgement section. This is obviously written by different editors. You can see people like Ben Clymer, Jack Forrester, James Stacey in this book, Jonathan Buse. Pretty cool cool table of contents with enough information for you to really get some really good insights into watches here. So we'll just go through a couple of these sections so you can see kind of what you're going to end up getting with this book, but you can see really beautiful pictures in this book, an iconic image of the Hodinkee website here. Then there's an introduction by Ben Clymer, which I think is really great. It has some beautiful chronographs here. Vintage Paul Newman 6263, and then a brand new stainless steel chronograph there. Got a really beautiful zenith chronograph here as well. You can see a nice picture of the movement. And then they sort of jump straight into each of their sections. So you have like the brief history where they go over some of when it was born, the birth of specific types of watches, really high quality pictures of many of these watches. And you can see here that there's obviously some of the icons in all of this world. Stainless steel 1518, for example. And it kind of just continues. Really high quality pictures. One of my favorite sections is the icon section, which is at the back. Really beautiful shot of a Lange 1. Obviously, you couldn't tell the history of watches without having an image of Paul Newman Daytona that went up for auction. And in the chronograph section, you have a really nice section here. You have a brief history of chronographs and how they were sort of constructed, and the first chronograph that was actually ever produced by Louis Monier. It's believed to be the first chronograph, I should say. We've covered it pretty extensively on our website. We have done a Louis Monier Legends of Watchmaking, yeah, you can check it out. But it just is a really comprehensive guide and easy to read. It's not there, as you can see. There is a technical sort of diagram here of the chronograph, but it's not hard to understand, and you can really have a lot of fun with it. I'll sort of try and skip through this. Obviously, chronographs had a huge influence on race car driving, but also in space, and it kind of continues through all of this. And each section sort of has this type of information, so I'll go over the dive watch section as well here. So here's the dive watch section. You can see a really nice Tudor Black Bay chronometer over here. In my opinion, one of the best releases from Tudor in recent years. Again, you can see sort of a technical layout here of what the case would end up looking like. More information about where the dive watch came from. You can see Blancpain Bathskep there. Panerai Radiomir, which was also very influential with divers. And again, this is sort of brand agnostic, so you can see many different versions of these specific watches here. Travel time watches, which I think is a complication that I think we all sort of have a nice love for. I really like the fact that they sort of have these sections here with some sort of quote around it, so you can see one's destination is never a place but rather a new way of seeing things. Yeah, got a little technical description again, and then common uses of these and really famous iterations of these watches that go a long way. As you can see, a really nice GMT there. So this book sort of goes through all of it. I'm not going to flip through all of it for you. I encourage you to check it out. I'll put a link in the description of this video, and then I'll also put a link in our article on our website if you want to read more about this watch. But it really goes through some incredible examples of these complications and gives you a really nice baseline knowledge. I know I've gone over a couple of different books that I would look out for. We went over a book called The Wristwatch Handbook, I believe last week, and I would encourage you to check that book out. That also has a really nice way of, just look at that amazing 565 from Patek Philippe with Breguet numbers, really beautiful, and Tiffany stamped. But I encourage you to check that book out. It does something very similar to what this book does, in trying to give you sort of a baseline understanding of what watches are. We also went over George Daniel's watchmaking, which could also be, if you were looking for more of a technical description for some of these things, you can take a look at that. but a really phenomenal book. It was, you know, it's controversial, right? Hodinkee started as a website, which sort of moved away from print journalism, and so they ended up going from a website to doing something like this, and now they have all of their magazines that they released. But I do think this is a really nice book that they released as their first, and kind of shows what Hodinkee is known for doing really well. So a phenomenal book. I'll put a link in the show notes if you want to check it out, and I will flip perspectives so we can close out this video. I hope you enjoyed looking at watches, a guide by Hodinkee. As always, I will have an article where you can read about this book if you want some more in-depth information that maybe wasn't captured in this video. If you go over to Life on the Wrist, you'll be able to find that article in the editorial section of our website. Let me know what you think about this book in the comment section below. And if you want to talk about it, you can hit us up on our social medias. We'd love to talk about these books with you. As I mentioned, there are other books you can probably partner with this one with. And I think that it's a nice way of sort of rounding out your library when it comes to watches. If you are new to Life on the Wrist, be sure to hit the subscribe button and share this video with a friend of yours who might be interested in watches. I know that they would love some of our content. We cover a range of topics. So be sure to do that. You can check out our channel if you want to see some of the other videos that we end up covering. If you wouldn't mind hitting the like button for me, it really does help me out. And with that said, guys, thank you so much for watching this video, and until next time.